Hey guys, Todd here. Today we're going to install the Tayor Wing 34-gallon tool and fuel combo box. Now this is the same installation for other combo boxes. For this installation I'll be using 4 sockets, a 1/4 inch, a 3/8, a 7/16, and a 9/16, along with their coordinating ratchets. I'll also be using a drill, a mallet, a crescent wrench, and a tape measure. Well, make sure you're subscribed to our channel to stay up to date on all of our latest content. Let's go ahead and get started. For this particular model, we're going to be installing a fuel dispensing pump. So I'm going to install the pump motor first. In order to do that, you'll notice this is the feed going into the pump coming from the tank. That needs to go through this hole. And you also notice we got a couple of bolts that are loosely attached here. Those are the bolts that are going to come out and actually physically bolt it to that bracket. Before I do that though, it's going to be a lot easier to go ahead and run my wire. This is my power wire that I have to run to the battery. I'm going to go ahead and run it through this hole and out the back. That way I can feed this through nicely and easily. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull out the bolts on the pump itself, set those to the side. We're going to line everything up, put the bolts back in, tighten them down with a 9/16. All right, we're going to go ahead and tuck our dispensing nozzle or hose out of the way down into this pocket here. Now, if you would like, you can actually run this hose through this hole to keep everything down in here. If you do that, what you'll want to do is unscrew the handle from the hose, and then whenever you run it through, you can then put it back together. Make sure you use a thread locker, though, that will work with diesel fuel. All right, next we need to install our feed tube going down into the tank. What we're going to need to do first is remove the largest of our 3 plugs. Now this is a proprietary thread, so I do recommend that you save that plug in case you need to tap it off later. Also, I've already broken it loose, so you're not going to see me struggle with it on camera, but there was some thread sealer on here and do expect to have some resistance there. I'm just going to use a crescent wrench. Now we're just going to go ahead and take our tube, drop it down through the hole, and line up the threads and get that tightened down. Obviously, this is going to be feeding here, so we want this 90-degree neck to be facing in this direction. All right, now we're going to go ahead and install our fuel line to connect the two. We're just going to go ahead and slip it over top on each side. All right, now when we put the fuel line up here, we're going to notice the fuel line is rubbing against this bracket. It's kind of a sharp edge. This bracket is actually used for a different type of application, and I don't need it here. So what I'm going to do is just bend that out of the way. Now I can attach the other end. And we're going to go ahead and tighten up our hose clamps. We can either use a 1/4 inch ratchet or a flathead screwdriver. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and install the cover to these 2 clip nuts that are on our brackets. Now, if you do not have the clip nuts installed already, just make sure they slide over top of the bracket. line up to the hole and make sure that the threads are to the inside of this bracket housing. We're going to use the supplied hardware, get those lined up. You want to get them started before you tighten either one of them down. Okay, and before we go any further, make sure our switch on the pump is set to the off position. Once we energize this thing, we don't want it to be on. Now here's the mounting brackets to mount them to the truck. You've got two of them, they're a mirror image of each other. This is the driver's side bracket, so it's going to go along the side of the box, fold in, and then hang over top of the bulkhead. Now you're also going to notice you got a hole in the side of the box. What that's going to do is line up to this slot on the bracket. Now I've already gone ahead and measured on the truck to get this kind of right in the area that it needs to be, how high up this needs to go to line up to the bulkhead on the truck. Once that's lined up, I'm going to go ahead and take our carriage bolt and go through the bracket and into the hole in the side of the box. Because of the tolerances, this is actually kind of tight, and we got a little bit of powder coat there, so it doesn't quite want to seat by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a rubber mallet and strike that carriage bolt to seat the square of the carriage bolt inside the rectangular slot. Next, I can go on the other side, use a flat washer and a nylock nut, and then tighten that down with a 7/16. All right, now just repeat the same process for the bracket on the opposite side. Okay, now before we put the unit into the bed of the truck, we want to make sure we have a place where the wire can route out. Now the battery on this particular truck is on the passenger side, so I just came down here. There's a plug that was installed here. I popped that out. Now I can route my wire through here. All right, now with the help of a friend, I've already gotten this put in position. I've got the cord coming down and running out my kick out. Now I'm going to go ahead and line it up to the bulkhead. All right, now that we've got it centered in the bed of the truck, I'm going to go ahead and attach it with our included self-tapping screws. We'll repeat the same process on the opposite side. Well, we ran the wires along the frame and tied it off to the battery. We did have to extend the wires a little bit, and we added a 20 amp fuse. That concludes the installation. If you have any questions, call the experts or visit us online. Well, if you found that helpful, make sure you give us a like. Also, subscribe to our channel to keep up with our new projects and builds. And make sure you ring that bell if you want to be notified every time we come out with some new content.